Joel Fabiani is an American film, television and theatre actor, generally most famous for the British cult classic Department S. He is also known to fans of 1970s cop shows for guest starring in the FBI, Barnaby Jones, The Streets of San Francisco, Banachek, Cannon, The Rockford Files, Starsky and Hutch and many more. To movie fans, he is known for roles in films such as Looking for Mr. Goodbar, Reuben and Tune In Tomorrow, while he is familiar to fans of soap operas for recurring roles in shows like Dallas, Dynasty, As the World Turns, and All My Children. Background: Fabiani was born in Watsonville, California as the youngest of 3 children to parents whose backgrounds were a mix of Italian, Austrian, Irish and Native American roots. The family moved a lot, so young Joel attended a total of no less than 17 different schools. After graduating from high school he joined the Army, then went to college, where he earned a degree in English and became interested in acting. So after graduation, he studied at the Actors Workshop in San Francisco for 2 years. Early years in theater. At the San Francisco Actors Workshop, he learned acting as well as stagecraft, and appeared in plays such as The Alchemist, Saint's Day, and Twinkling of an Eye, as well as classics such as Shakespeare's King Lear. After 2 years at the workshop, he moved to New York, where he started out playing in summer stock and off-Broadway productions. He appeared in One Way Pendulum, was an understudy for Robert Shaw and Alan Bates in a Broadway production of The Caretaker, had his Broadway debut in The Affair in 1962, and played in 1,000 Clowns, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, and others. Plus more Shakespeare, such as Romeo and Juliet, Richard II, and Henry IV, Part 1, as well as the US tour of Beyond the Fringe, in which he faked a British accent so well that people couldn't believe he wasn't actually English, and many other plays, such as A Doll's House, and Hedda Gabler, in which he played opposite Claire Bloom, while he also worked on television commercials. Television. He became the star of a series of commercials for a cigarette, in which he played what Fabiani himself described as a watered-down James Bond character, usually wearing a tuxedo and being surrounded by beautiful girls while smoking that particular brand of cigarette. His first small roles on television shows were in Love of Life and The Doctors, Look Up and Live, and the cult classic Dark Shadows. Afterwards he played Drive, Shelley in the pilot episode of Ironside, Department S. Ultimately the cigarette commercials earned him a role in the British cult show Department S, which was in pre-production in England at the time. ITC producers Frankel and Berman asked me if I had any film to show them. Fabiani recalls, "I hadn't done that much except a very splashy commercial for a cigarette, and I was dressed in a tuxedo, and I was around these gorgeous models. So they looked that over and said, yeah, that's kinda what we were looking for." Fabiani was then invited to England for tests. They shot some footage of me jumping over boxes and being very athletic. And then I went back to New York and a week later they said, "You've got the job." So I flew back and within a couple of weeks began shooting the show. So he and his wife moved to the United Kingdom, where he co-starred in Department S. The show is considered to be a forerunner of The X-Files and was about a special branch of Interpol dealing with particularly baffling cases that other agencies had failed to solve. Fabiani played the field team leader Stuart Sullivan, a pragmatic man of action and determination and a bit of a temper to go with it. Already in the second episode, The Trojan Tanker, Fabiani was once more in a tuxedo, gambling in a casino, and looking very Bondish. And there were several episodes in which he wore the tux at least for one scene, usually whenever he was meeting the head of the department. Sir Curtis, for a briefing during some gala, opera or exclusive party. Like most spy-fi shows of the 1960s, Department S did have elements of Bond. The 7th episode, for instance, Handicap Dead, where Sullivan attends a golf tournament in Scotland and ends up investigating the suspicious death of one of the golfers, was inspired by Goldfinger. Fabiani was highly esteemed and appreciated by his fellow cast members. Guest star Kate O'Mara described him as most charming and a perfect American gentleman. His co-star Rosemary Nichols called him a very sweet guy and extremely professional. He always came prepared, and he knew exactly what he was doing, and Peter Wingard declared, "Joel was wonderful." The show ran successfully in the UK and was syndicated worldwide, including the US, where it ran for its full season length. At one point in the early 1970s it was voted the most popular series in the world. However, the producers set their sights on other projects, such as the equally short-lived spin-off Jason King, and the Roger Moore, Tony Curtis show, The Persuaders, which also only ran for one season. For his part, Fabiani wasn't too disappointed that no more episodes were commissioned. "When I came back to the States from England, I wanted to go out and conquer Hollywood, which is what I immediately set out to do, and didn't. But I had an awful lot of fun trying Hollywood." Fabiani returned to television work, at first still very much in line with his Department S character, such as playing the FBI agent Barris in the TV movie The Longest Night, opposite David Janssen. Then he went on to guest star in many other television shows, including The FBI, Banner Check, Barnaby Jones, Cannon, The Streets of San Francisco, The Rockford Files, Matt Helm, SWAT, Starsky and Hutch, Columbo and Black Sheep Squadron, playing good guys and villains alike, from lawyers, prosecutors and doctors to pilots, PIs and gangsters. He also appeared in numerous TV movies, including Brenda Starr with Jill Street, John, thrillers like the Edgar Allan Poe Award-nominated One of My Wives Is Missing, with Jack Klugman, and The President's Mistress with Beau Bridges and Larry Hagman, and the Prezan movie Attica with Morgan Freeman, which was nominated for several Emmys and won one. In between he still worked in the theater, appearing in Broadway plays such as Love for Love and Luigi Pirandello's The Rules of the Game, a show that was also featured in the PBS Great Performances series, as well as Ashes, the original run of I'm Getting My Act Together and Taking It on the Road, the courtroom drama As to the Meaning of Words, and more. In addition, he appeared in several feature films, including high-profile movies such as Looking for Mr. Goodbar, the Oscar-nominated Rubin, and Tune In Tomorrow. Others were the independent movie Dark Echoes, which, ahead of its time, was a kind of forerunner of John Carpenter's The Fog, and mainstream movies like Snake Eyes. Primetime Dramas. From the 1980s on, he had several recurring roles in primetime soaps, where he appeared as publisher Alex Ward in Dallas and played the role of King Galen of Moldavia on Dynasty, where his son's wedding, unceremoniously interrupted by terrorists shooting at the gathered crowd, provided the famous season 5 cliffhanger finale. The viewers then had to wait quite a while until it was finally revealed that most of the characters, including King Galen, had, despite initial rumors to the contrary, indeed survived the attack. Fabiani also guest-starred in Hotel, and had the somewhat difficult task of assessing Jane Wyman's mental capacities as Dr. Quentin King in Falcon Crest. Later he moved back to New York, and also played in daytime dramas, where he served as temporary replacement for Michael Zaslow as Roger Thorpe on Guiding Light from late May to June 1995 while Zaslow was on personal leave. Played a major part in The City as Jared Chase in 1996, had a recurring role in As the World Turns as Winston Lowe, Mr. Smith, and a long run on All My Children as Barry Shire, a lawyer who never seemed to run out of work trying to get either Chandler Enterprises or various members of the Chandler clan out of trouble, out of court, or out of jail, or all of the above. He continued to guest star in other shows too, including Murder, She Wrote, Third Watch, Law and Order and Law and Order: Criminal Intent. The latter's episode meant a reunion with Claire Bloom, with whom he had worked over 30 years before in the theatre, and centered around the events at a fundraiser, and Fabiani still looked great in a tuxedo. In between he had occasional parts in comedy shows, such as The Cosby Show, Strangers with Candy, and Ed, and also kept appearing in plays in the theatre. Other projects. Apart from that, he appeared as presenter in theatre documentaries, such as Ghost of Glory, about Eugene O'Neill and his plays, which was hosted by Joanne Woodward, and as narrator on several Barbara Walters specials. Fabiani, who has an uncanny ability to imitate numerous voices, moods, and inflections, also narrates audiobooks, including Norman Maclean's A River Runs Through It, Conrad Richter's The Light in the Forest, and Lauren D. Estelman's award-winning Aces and Eights stage appearances. Fabiani started out at the San Francisco Actors Workshop and afterwards worked with several theater companies over the years, including the National Touring Company, Phoenix Theater Company, Paper Mill Playhouse, and the American Shakespeare Festival, appearing in numerous plays both on and off-Broadway, including Career, The Alchemist, The Marriage of Mr. Mississippi, The Devil's Disciple, Saint's Day, Twinkling of an Eye, King Lear, The Caretaker, One-Way Pendulum, Richard II, Henry IV Part 1, The Affair, Dark Corners, A Doll's House, Escurial, Sabrina Fair, 1,000 Clowns, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to He Forum, The 7-Year Itch, Bus Stop, Mr. Grossman, Romeo and Juliet, The King and I, Any Wednesday, Beyond the Fringe, Do I Hear a Waltz, Marat, Sade, Hedda Gabler, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Death of a Salesman, Candle in the Wind, Love for Love, The Rules of the Game, Ashes, I'm Getting My Act Together and Taking It on the Road, As to the Meaning of Words, Family Values, television and movie appearances. Fabiani appeared in many television shows in either starring, recurring, or guest-starring roles, as well as numerous television movies and half a dozen feature films. Overview: Love of Life, The Doctors, Look Up and Live, Dark Shadows, Ironside, NYPD, The Hero, Department S, The Sixth Sense, The Longest Night, Particular Men, Owen Marshall, Counselor at Law, Marcus Welby, MD, Banachek, The FBI, Beg, Borrow, or Steal, The Wide World of Mystery, The Streets of San Francisco, Canon, Nikki's World, Women in Chains, Barnaby Jones, The Rockford Files, Great Performances, The Rules of the Game, Starsky and Hutch, Matt Helm, Risco, McNaughton's Daughter, Jigsaw John, City of Angels, SWAT, Brenda Starr, The New Daughters of Joshua Cabe, One of My Wives is Missing, Black Sheep Squadron, Looking for Mr. Goodbar, Dark Echoes, Switch, Columbo, Wonder Woman, The President's Mistress, Tom and Joanne, King Crab, Attica, Flamingo Road, Dallas, Rubin, Santa Barbara, Dynasty, Hotel, American Masters, Eugene O'Neill, A Glory of Ghosts, The Cosby Show, Falcon Crest, Tune In Tomorrow, Murder, She Wrote, General Hospital, Guiding Light, Loving, The City, Feds, Port Charles, Snake Eyes, Barbara Walters Specials, As the World Turns, Strangers with Candy, Strong Medicine, Third Watch, Law and Order, Criminal Intent, Ed. Wanna Watch a Television Series, CH1, Variations on a Theme, Wanna Watch a Television Series, CH2, A fish out of water. All my children.